Yeah, but
And it says we're live.
yeah, but you're a violent person.
Okay.
And we have been sitting here cussing and discussing airline travel.
Yes, we have.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not defending airline travel. I won't get on an airline. This is coming from a pilot. Uh, it's just that I understand why some of those people tend to be raging bitches. Now
No,
the
we-
passengers, on the other hand, they better sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up.
We
Okay,
didn't even get a minute in, Jim.
I know. Passengers. Speaking as a pilot, passengers bug the shit out of me.
Like I said,
Well, and we have somebody on here already that just came back from overseas on an airline.
it's in your.
So I'm sorry.
Sarah, do you have a comment?
I don't condone what's happening. I think that the folks that do it need to get slapped with stiff penalties.
Yeah.
But I also understand where the hell it's coming from. Because prior to COVID, like I was telling these guys, the last three flights, two, 3, 4 flights I was on, at least one of the flight attendants was a raging bitch.
Yeah.
And there was one on the way back from Chattanooga. If I could have, I'd have thrown him off the plane.
Sarah, the question I asked was, how was your trip back from overseas on the airline?
Which you fly back on?
I don't know.
Please tell me it was Alitalia,
Oh, God, no.
the worst customer service airline in the world,
And they're proud of it.
Yep.
and that's including all the Africa guys.
And her first comment was no legroom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
Legroom
No,
is.
we were discussing, Jim and I were discussing it. You've got the leg room has shrunk by half. The seat width has shrunk by at least a third. You're in Joe of the minimal bodily hygiene's armpit. You've gone through TSA and had your genitalia groped by a stranger, and not in a good way.
Oh, Sarah said they still had to wear a mask, even though they've been tested, had COVID, and had the antigen.
that's because Fauci
Fauci.
says
That's
Yeah.
it's because they came up with the antivirals
Yeah.
faster than the Democrats thought they would.
Yeah.
So the Democrats had to poo-poo them to make sure that they could,
until the proper time. It
right
comes.
until the proper time, which meant Trump was out of office.
Yeah.
And now they're stuck
Yeah.
with people who don't trust them. Going, oh, by the way, folks, it's the Johnson and Johnson one that turns you into a zombie. One of the other two gives you superpowers. I don't know which one. I don't care. I wanted to be in the zombie group.
Ouch. Sarah said she's tall for a woman, and husband is NBA tall. Oh, God. And coach.
Damn.
I can remember.
Well, the worst one, though, there's coach and then there's coach. And if you've ever flown a Japanese airline,
Oh God, they're tiny.
JAL, ANA, in country, Japan, I'm 5'10".
Shoehorn and axle grease.
Yeah, going from Tokyo to Okinawa in a 747 with 400 seats
Mhm.
on
So-
a 747.
when I
Literally, when I sat down, my knees were already in the back of the seat ahead of me, and it had not been able to recline.
when I derosed from Korea, I flew Flying Tigers back, right?
Yeah.
747. You want to know how the seat configuration was? 454.
Oh, God.
Holy God.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, and everybody's in Class A's because that's how you travel. I sat down next to an E7, and we saw the stewardess came by, and he handed her $100 and took that in drinks. And I looked at him and I said, "Okay, he's an E7. He knows something I don't." So I handed her $80, took it all in drinks, because we didn't see her again.
John says, I've been thinking of chartering. Supposedly there's a charter airline out of there that flies certain routes regularly, expensive, but no TSA.
If
Yeah.
it did, if it's flying a regular route, it's 121 and not charter.
Well,
If you hire it, it's 135 and it can't fly a regular route. It has to be what you tell it to.
yeah, but you can tell it to go from Dallas to New York or Dallas to wherever.
Yeah. It's just the FAA regs get really.
Can you go by every week and tell them you want to fly to New York from Dallas?
Yes.
Oh, and Sarah says, ordered kids' meals for the flight. Didn't happen. Every passenger got the same vegetarian crap. Yeah, well, there is
What did
that.
she fly?
I don't know, what airline was that, just out of curiosity, Sarah? RK says they're traveling to Seward, Alaska for their American Legion reunion. Had to wear a mask, planned on much discomfort as possible without being on a Japanese airline. Yeah, well,
After my last flight back from Chattanooga, Rita and I drive to Chattanooga now because seriously, there was a gay guy and
His flounce had flopped.
his flounce had major flop.
yeah,
And we're flying back. Apparently, Chattanooga to Dallas at the time was not a heavily peopled plane, and there were maybe 4 passengers on one of those little bouncy puddle jumpers.
yeah.
Well, the bathroom wasn't working, so I went straight back for the back because I don't care, and it kept the other 3 the hell away from me.
Yeah.
Well, the steward came
Yeah.
by, and I had a coupon for a free drink. So I asked for a bourbon and Diet Coke, and he said, when I fucking get around to it. It's like, ew. So it's a 2-hour flight. 1 hour into the flight, I signaled him. I said, I don't want to bother you, but I told you when I fucking get around to it. I'll put my hat over my eyes and went to sleep. Never did get my drink. But it was that or get up, open the hatch, and throw him out.
I will say, one of the best curries I've ever had was on Air India.
Yeah.
Flying Air India from, somehow ended up on them going transatlantic to Heathrow. And one of the best curries I've ever had. I also got to watch the Drew Carey show in Hindi.
Oh, but that was fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. Don't fly Air India if you have any consciousness of what flight safety is.
Don't fly any third world airline in that case.
No, well, and the standard rule that I use anytime I'm overseas, if there is not at least one Caucasian pilot in the cockpit, I don't get on the airplane.
Well,
that was a badge of pride for the guys who could afford to fly in Africa, have
Yeah.
their own airplanes in Africa. Was you had European or American pilots?
Yeah.
well, I told everybody about that we were flying out of Lagos on Air Nigeria or Nigeria Air or whatever the hell it was at the time, and we're buckled in, and my dad holds up the tongue end of a seatbelt, and it's dangling free, and he says, "Miss," the steward is, "Oh, I'm so sorry, boss." Goes get a safety pin, and safety pins it to the seat.
That'll work
Yeah.
for varying sizes of safety pins.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were 3 pilots that flew for Bartholomew. It was me. I was an American. There was one guy who was had an Irish passport and an old Rhodesian passport.
Yes.
And a guy from Italy,
Yeah.
Italian, and those were. He wanted 3 white pilots up front.
It's because he didn't want to die.
Well, no, I mean I did some Lear 60 flying while I was over there with a friend of mine who's Angolan, but he was the cousin of the owner, so
Yeah.
that's why he was flying.
That's exactly why you don't want to die.
But he did all his training here in the States.
That's smart.
Yes.
And Jason goes back to my earlier comment. I've only flown commercial once, DFW to LA and back for work. They've been on Greyhound buses that were cleaner and better maintained. Yep.
The problem with the Greyhound bus is there's always one weirdo on it. So when
If
you get
there
on,
isn't, there is a weirdo. on the
you know
bus.
who it is. Look around. If you don't see him, you know who it is.
Yeah. The arcade's talking about the Honduran pilots fly straight up over the mountain, straight down the other side, and the last minute level out and land. Except when they missed.
I don't like the term.
It's really
miss.
hard. They're trying to miss the
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah, but when they miss the miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't miss.
I've taken a Greyhound once. I'll never do that again. Because I spent the entire time with my hand in my jacket and a 357 revolver pointed at my seatmate. Because
Oh, one of those good seatmates.
yes, and it was full enough I couldn't move to another seat, and nobody else wanted to sit next to him because he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, Jesse says, yeah, but the floor show can be interesting on a bus. First time I ever saw a homeless dude punch a nun. Bad idea on his part.
First off, I don't know who to give kudos to, the nun or the homeless guy.
Yeah,
And RK goes, how bad did the nun hurt him?
Because when I was in high school, I
did
was,
she have a ruler? That's,
yeah.
Yeah,
I remember in high school when they were talking about going metric, and our high school bought metric rulers. They gave those nuns an extra 3.5 inches of whack.
yeah.
yeah. And apparently she did hurt him badly.
If she had a ruler, he was toast.
Mhm.
They will cut you down to size with a ruler.
Those one by meter sticks were what the nuns had.
Sister Mary Felicity in Nigeria
Huh.
had one of those 3-sided drafting ones.
Oh yeah, but it was only they're only that long.
No,
No.
this was an 18-inch.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Oh
with
no,
the 3-sided, and man, she get her thumb in the groove so that she had edge down. Whack!
Sister Margarita had the 1-inch square, meter long.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yes, she not only had thwack, she had reach.
Well, you know those.
Zeter says, I have a Greyhound story, but too long for here, but involved picking up prisoners who'd just been released, sitting them on the floor of the bus because all the seats were full.
Have you ever
That's
seen?
way not legal ever.
Well, inmates. Have you ever seen those great huge sticks they use for measuring fuel at gas stations?
Yes,
I mean,
Have fun, Sarah.
they're like,
Don't
15
drown the
feet,
kids.
Yeah,
Sister Mary Felicity saw one of those, and you see her eyes line up. Dad went, no.
John says, I've done Greyhound way too many times, especially after 9/11. Yeah.
I will take Amtrak before I take Greyhound.
the only time I've ever done Amtrak was when I was a little kid. I can vaguely remember sitting in the observation car.
My brother takes Amtrak, has taken Amtrak out to the East Coast several times. He loves it.
Where's he get on it?
Dallas.
Really?
Yeah, he goes Dallas to Maryland to visit my sister.
Nancy says, yeah, my dad was an engineer. We got whacked with those 3-sided rulers too. Yes, Amtrak is more expensive than flying now.
Well, it can be.
Yeah.
You can apparently, if you time it right and you rack up enough miles, it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
Chris, trust me, my little Scottish brother will pinch a penny till it screams.
Yeah.
But also he steps off the street into the Amtrak.
Yeah.
And they keep threatening to do TSA, but he hasn't been TSA yet. So, and the minute they TSA him, they'll figure out some other way because Chris feels worse on TSA than I do.
Yeah. Jason says, my parents ran a convenience store and we had a tank measuring stick.
Yep. Sister Mary Felicity saw one of those, or you see her eyes light up.
Made great lances for kids.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And strike a spark and you had a flaming lance.
I just remember Sister Margarita. She knew Jesus personally.
Yeah.
Taught him in school.
She was
Probably whacked his knuckles.
She was my dad's senior English lit teacher, and
Oh,
she was
damn.
my senior English
Oh,
lit teacher. And trust me, comparisons were made on a daily basis,
Oh,
and not necessarily to my benefit.
John says when he was going back and forth between Sacramento and Portland, Amtrak was more expensive than first class airline ticket.
Jesus.
Damn.
But Amtrak's supposed to be heavily subsidized. They shouldn't be more expensive.
Yeah, depends on where you're going.
That's true. I mean, they've got scenic routes now.
Yeah.
You can pick it up in St. Louis, and it'll run to San Francisco,
Oh,
and then out to Chicago.
they send Chris these package. Amtrak apparently loves my little brother. They send these package deals, and they've got like the Lone Star Eagle or whatever it is,
Mhm.
is Dallas to San Antonio, then through the desert up to LA, and it's got Wi-Fi and everything.
Oh yeah, it's got the Silver Bullet is the
Yeah.
one that runs east-west.
That's one of
Although
them.
Silver Bullet has a different connotation for a lot of us.
Yeah.
But he gets a sleeper car or sleeper room, and happy because he can go in there and shut the door and be by himself.
The level of rooms you can do. I
Yeah.
mean,
God, he's got it down. I mean, he's got the app and everything.
which is funny because
RK says spousal unit went to Catholic schools all 12 years. Teachers were Jesuits and the Schulzenstaffel at Notre Dame. It's getting better.
I've heard they've gone to the Stasi now
Yeah.
instead of
Jason said now a lot of the Amtrak routes include buses between trains.
Some of them, yes.
Might as well take a Greyhound the whole way. Ugh.
No.
I rode Greyhound from Rochester, Minnesota to Denver, Colorado once for some flight training. I was doing a mountain certification. And yeah.
And
No.
Amtrak subsidies affect the prices, just like university subsidies affect the tuition prices.
Right. They got higher. Okay.
Yeah. Chris says 50 minutes on a bus in between to go to the next station is he. Chris won't take Amtrak or won't take Greyhound because people need to be unstabbed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time a bum drools on my brother, he'll get stabbed.
Yeah. Well, Richard does have a point. Amtrak, same price as flying, but 2 days instead of 2 hours. Some people like the getaway privacy of Amtrak, which Chris does.
Yeah, and the fact that they've got a meal that he can actually sit down and have a sit-down meal in a meal car.
You go to a dining car and you sit down at a table and you get real silverware.
Yeah.
Not a spatula and a
Oh,
spork.
speaking of trains, Big Boy is coming through Fort Worth next month.
Oh yeah.
Yep. They're
Speaking of other things,
yes.
Ranch Roundup is this month.
What is?
Oh,
The Ranch Roundup.
Yep.
So I'm going to the Impact and go chase down Kent Rollins again.
yes.
I could bottle some cowboy candy for him this time. Make sure I get it to him.
Yes, sir. And Amtrak has better food than the airlines.
Oh yeah. Well, they actually have food.
It's real food.
Yeah.
I don't know, baked in a real kitchen by
You know,
real chefs.
and it's funny. We were talking earlier about peanuts versus
Pretzels.
Some of the airlines no longer serve peanuts because I think it's Southwest got sued.
It's an
Nut
allergen.
Yeah.
The problem is if you read the pretzel package, it says processed in a facility that processes nuts.
Yeah, I know. That's
Well, what it is, they're just not going to do snacks anymore.
Yeah.
That's the way they're
Do you
trending.
remember People's Airline?
No.
I flew People's back from Fort Jackson after basic, right? It was this low cost, no frills airline that didn't serve food, and that was the big thing. Now everybody doesn't serve food, but it was just kind of fun because back then all you had to do was you stopped at whatever convenience store in the airport, bought your snacks, and then got on the airplane, and everybody was happy.
Well,
except for the fact that the guy who bought all the Snickers bar wouldn't share them.
yeah.
But
John says there are times I wish we'd bring back Murder Incorporated. The peanut people are one of them. Yeah. Yes, I will agree with Jerry. Anywhere but New York to DC, Amtrak is better than flying, and it's faster.
Well,
because I was up there for a government meeting in Philadelphia, and the weather closed in, and we had to be back in DC the next day for another set of meetings. So the airline canceled on us, called Amtrak, and we were able to get on the Excella, and we were actually back in DC at Union Station before the airplane could have possibly made the flight. We looked at the timing between check-in, getting on the airplane, getting in the air, getting back, landing, deplaning, yada, yada, yada. It was faster to take the Excella, go to Union Station, and then, of course, we had to cab back out to Dulles to get our cars. But it was more comfortable, and there was food, and you could actually get, water and get up and walk around.
It's usually faster to take a plane. Like I say, Chris, he gets a little roomette with actual bed to lay on. He can walk anytime without people yelling at him.
Mm-hmm.
And well, he gets on. He steps on from the street.
Yeah.
He's got an actual sit-down place to eat with actual. It's not a bag of pretzels thrown at him by a scowling gay flight attendant.
Yeah.
And this says something about my father's children. He said, "I can hop off when it's in motion without screaming death."
Yeah. RK said working at Pentagon, it was faster. So yes, that's 3 of us that have done that. Oh, now this just pissed me off.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
that?
Twitter slapped a warning on a veteran's July 4th post.
You know why? Because his face is scarred badly. This is so much bullshit.
This is Twitterati.
Yeah.
It's those 5 people in their mama's basement that make enough noise for 50,000 and
Yeah.
they're actually being listened to. They finally have some power, and by God, they're going to use it.
Yeah, so they find something. They don't read anything.
Yeah.
They don't do any research. They just see something
They do
And say-
nothing.
Yeah.
and say, "I'm going to
Well,
make
they're the
this an issue."
soundbite generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
they don't
they
produce
don't read
anything.
history. They don't
They
give a
don't.
shit about history.
No,
They
no,
don't
it's
know
not even
history.
that. It's if they post an article like this, they
Yeah.
probably saw the guy's picture, didn't read anything else.
Yeah.
The 125
Yeah,
characters
yeah,
of Twitter
Yeah.
was too much for them to read.
Yeah.
And they went off and got all butthurt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the left calls us snowflakes.
Yeah. And Jesse raises a good point. It comes down to population density, which is true. Back east trains work in the central U.S. They're good for freight. Western U.S. not so much.
If you're
The thing
allergic
is-
to planes,
Yeah. The Coastal Express, or the Coast Starlight, sorry, runs LA to Seattle. But that's about the only one. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was a railroad engineer at the turn of the 19th century into the 20th century.
I'm glad he specified.
Mm-hmm. Unlike his other uncle who ran a regular longboat between England and Norway. We're not going to.
Why do I do this?
You got to show the Vikings somehow.
Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, I do. Getting on a train in 1906 with a Colt 45 strapped on his hip and an 1886 Winchester over his shoulder. But he went from Atchison Peak in Santa Fe to running, I want to say, the Chieftain to the West Coast, and then jumped over at some point to be a railroad investigator for, I think, Union Pacific, and a couple other railroads, forerunner of NTSB, basically. But he talked about the quality of travel and the fact that, and he saw it go from steam to diesel, basically. And he said the problem with the steam trains was, yeah, they could make 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And they would,
for 30 miles.
but 30 to 60 miles, they had to stop and rewater.
Mhm.
And he said,
No, they didn't have the torque for hills either.
no.
The diesels, on the other hand.
But he said the issue was also timing. And, you know, if you got a little bit ahead, you were
Oh,
making
Lord.
good time. If you got a little bit behind, it could be an issue with a train coming the other direction on the
Mhm.
same track. But he said that he always liked to work with fat conductors because he said that meant the conductor could cook
Oh.
because there was food provided for the passengers on the train,
But not for the.
but not for the crew.
Oh.
And he alluded to the fact that more than once they might have shot antelope out of the cab and stopped the train to go get it.
Yeah, but the passengers didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
The thing
Oh,
is, you could run a train shuttle service from like Oklahoma City to Dallas.
Yeah.
DFW, or Tulsa to DFW.
Yeah.
Faster than you can run an airline.
oh yeah.
Granted, the flight's only 20 minutes, but there is get to the airport, park.
Yeah.
Go through TSA. You have to be at TSA a couple hours early,
Mhm.
right? And then you have to, and the ticket counter, and the baggage check, and everything else.
Yeah.
Once you've added it all up, the 20-minute flight is a 4-hour deal.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be an hour and a half on a train, and if they built bullet trains, it would be a 20-minute
Yeah.
train ride.
No, it's the last time, and this is post 2001, post 9/11. Chris, the Dallas train station, he walks up. They say, "Hey, Mr. McMurtry." He buys his ticket. He walks out to the train track and he climbs on board the train.
Exactly.
He didn't, nobody searched him, nobody stopped him and said, "Mr. McMurtry, how you doing?"
Yeah.
No, just walk out there, get on. And I said, because Chris is he doesn't look good sometimes. And I said, "Do you want to help your brother?" I said, I can get on the plane or on the train. Yeah.
just don't be on it when it rolls out.
How
We're not
bloody-
going to back up to get you home.
How
again.
bloody civilized. I mean, it was honestly kind of civilized.
Yeah, RK says her spousal unit's grandfather was a train engineer for Tex-Mex Railroad.
The,
Ran
nu-
Laredo to Corpus Christi.
the number of small spur railroad companies back in the into the mid part of the 20th century was incredible.
Mhm.
There had to be 50 of them in this. There was one that went from Sherman to Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
And that's all that company. All it did was the Sherman to Wichita Falls and
Yeah.
back. And then there was another one that did Henrietta to Dallas and back.
Yeah.
And that's all they did. And it's like, wow.
Can you imagine that? I mean, you leave your car at home, so you're not paying for parking. You get in a cab, you go down to the train station. Half an hour later, you're at DFW.
Yeah.
Check your bags, and I bet you they could. Well, there's more opportunity to lose your bags then, but I mean, it's just
Well, not really, because Chris
Yeah.
takes his bag with him, and just like on the plane, he stows it on the seat or in his little roomette.
yeah. But if you have check, I'm thinking if you have check baggage, but
Yeah.
I mean now.
RK says one of her great grandmothers was a Harvey girl, and
Oh,
great
yeah.
granddad was a Santa Fe rail bed engineer. They met, and a couple of generations later, there was an RK.
But
Harvey girls for the win, says Nancy Fry. Yes.
this new Texas high-speed rail is all private. Well, it's not all. Nothing's all private anymore. There's
Yeah.
some Texas state funding, but I'm be interested to see how that
I don't think it's going to work
you don't
because
think so?
where the train needs to go, which is the airline hubs, they're not going to allow. There's no area in the downtown metroplexes for a train station, so the train station is going to be somewhere in the hinterlands,
The last I heard, they're using the downtown Dallas one Chris uses all the time,
right?
and
But
it's just I think correct me if I'm wrong, it's Houston to Dallas and back, right?
don't know.
I think it's Houston to Dallas.
I think it was originally planned to be Houston and Dallas, and then the third leg was going to be Houston or Dallas, San Antonio. So it was going to be basically the same thing Southwest Airlines did.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you'd think they'd want to run it through Waco to Dallas, Houston, Waco, Dallas.
Well, yeah, that would be one leg.
Yeah,
So there'd be a leg Houston to Dallas, a leg Houston to San Antonio, a leg Dallas to San Antonio.
But I would be.
the rail yard in Houston, I don't think is set up for passengers. I think it's all cargo now.
Pearland is all cargo.
Yeah.
I know there's one in Houston because Chris is talking about for a vacation taking Dallas to Houston to New Orleans. Apparently, that's one of
New
their
Orleans.
routes.
Say it with me. New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yes, there you
No.
go.
Anyway, going to New Orleans.
You're both wrong.
New Orleans.
Anyway,
Yes.
to
People that can't pronounce.
and he's going to pop over to New Orleans.
New Orleans.
And,
By way of Chicago, Illinois.
and spend a couple of days there and then take Amtrak back.
Why do I do this?
But
I learned Nolans is where Sam Houston recovered after the Battle of San Jacinto.
really,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He did several months of hoeing.
Yeah. Richard says Mythbusters tested to see if it was faster to drive one part of California to another or fly. Flying won barely because the drivers hit traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nancy said she and Gordon flew to LTUE in 20. Yeah, I remember that. And they were still complaining about a party, if you remember that.
I do remember that.
She says they're going back to driving in the winter.
I'm not driving to Provo.
I went.
And RK said the north-south line, San Antonio to Dallas, is under a lot of protest from the private property owners.
That's because
Amtrak station in San Antonio is downtown.
okay. It's just all the right of ways that the railroads got back in the 1800s and 1900s.
And are hanging on to with death grips.
Yeah.
They've lost a lot of
Have
them. Yeah, because the rail line shuts down. They don't need as many tracks because it's just cargo now. They're not
Yeah.
running passengers. So,
Yeah,
well.
Richard, they actually do a train ferry on the East Coast between Lorton, Virginia and Orlando, Florida. So you drive up, take your bags, they drive your car onto the train, you go to your compartment, and you get off 24 hours later in Orlando, Florida, and drive your car away.
it's a way to set mileage on the car.
We
Yeah.
are, Reed and I are considering flying into Salt Lake and then taking the Mormon Express from there's apparently every 45 minutes a train from Salt Lake to Provo.
Okay,
Yeah.
you said Mormon Express, and I was thinking, covered wagon with a team of 6 horses. I don't know, it's just
Yeah,
Awesome,
you
awesome.
can do that, but the train stop is out in the middle of nowhere. So you're going to have to get an Uber from there.
It's
To the hotel.
it's Rita. We'll get an Uber.
Yeah.
She just wants to sit there and watch the train go by.
except if she's on the
Jason
train.
says, I'm living in the Dallas-Houston proposed route. A lot of opposition too. Eminent domain may start hostilities.
Oh God, yes.
Yes.
Oh God, yes. Always, especially in Texas.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have posses running out.
Aaron says the correct term is the front runner from Salt Lake to.
Oh,
Okay.
I can remember Mormon Express. I can't remember Front Runner.
There were train lines that were famous, like the Zephyr.
Yeah.
Still running,
Yeah, the Zephyr still runs.
or there's still a train named that. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the actual Zephyr.
I think the cars are they may have been upgraded, but it's still the same cars. 'Cause all you do is remodel the interior.
Apparently, according to Chris, they last remodeled in the 70s and not since then.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of them were famous for the dishware. The Chieftain was one.
Yeah,
I remember Grandpa talking about that one because they had their own dishes only for that line,
I can believe
and
it.
they were collector's items.
I can believe it.
Actually, I'll look up Amtrak. Just
The Orient Express still exists.
Oh, the train does not run on Sunday. That's interesting.
good to know. We'll find something.
Yeah.
The
Nancy says they had a bum a ride to the airport. Yeah.
it got nationalized by the Taiwanese government way back in the 20s.
Yeah.
They haven't maintained it since then.
Yeah. John
Back to
says his grandfather was a Pullman conductor. And that's 3 different families out of our little group that all have railroad backgrounds, and we're all doing
Well, it tells
something
you how
different.
big the railroads were.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people they employed.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, I can remember touring an old DC-3 pre-World War II that was outfitted as a sleeper.
Yeah.
Because one of your legs was going to be across the middle of the night, across the middle of the
It
country.
was 7 bunks.
Yeah. And these are really nice bunks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's none of this,
Aaron says anybody who needs a ride to and from the airport, she has a van and willing to be a shuttle. Aaron, I'm sure people will jump on that and be more than happy to pay you gas to do that. You talk about the sleeper. The lady that ran the Ambassador's Lounge at National in DC was one of the original TWA employees.
Hmm.
She was hired by Howard Hughes as a flight attendant, and she was a registered nurse.
you had to be.
Yeah.
Yep. And you couldn't be married.
And she could not be married.
If you got engaged, that was the end of your job.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of.
And she said in those days, there was no food catering. So they would land somewhere, and she and the pilot, or she and the co-pilot, would go dicker with the restaurant at whatever airport they landed at for food.
They buy the
Yeah.
raw material to make the dinners.
She said sometimes they were lucky and they got the actual prepared meals. Blue plate specials. She said, I got so damn tired of blue plate specials over the years. But she said making up the beds on that airplane was a pain in the butt.
Oh, I bet.
I can believe it.
But she said the only good thing about flying the night flights, she said, all the assholes were asleep. Damn.
They'd get in, they'd climb in their bunks, they'd
Yeah.
go to sleep, the airplane would take off. That was in your job.
Yeah. Our case says uncles and cousins were Santa Fe conductors. Another cousin is now UPSF roadbed maintenance. Yeah.
Well, right now, on July, if we leave July 12th, Dallas, New Orleans takes 33 hours and costs $120.
That's not bad. It's probably, I mean, that's about what I'd assume a ticket from Dallas to New Orleans would cost
Well,
for the airlines.
honestly,
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably 4 times that for an airline.
And Jesse's now said one of his grandfathers on his mom's side was a conductor as well. The railroads employed a lot of people back in the day.
I had a great uncle who was a conductor. Well, I say conductor. He was convicted and sentenced to electric chair. So for a
Oops,
brief
That
instant,
explains so much.
for an instant, he was conducting.
And Jesse says he made the news doing the last run on one of the lines he worked for.
I can believe it. Oh, I vaguely recall reading an article about like the Chieftain or one of the other ones. The last run they did, the speaking of silverware,
Yeah.
the silverware and plates were disappearing at an excessive rate because it was a memento, it was a collector's item.
Yeah.
Because that was the end of the line.
End of the line. RK says, I was taught to be a conductor, but for bands and orchestras.
Really?
Yeah, she went there.
Well,
Musicians.
I trained as a semiconductor.
Cedar says ticket availability is the issue. When I tried to get tickets for the kid to go to San Antonio, there were none available until October.
Oh,
So yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are looking at Amtrak and going, "What the hell? It can't be any worse than the airlines. And maybe it's a lot better."
yeah.
But
Well, the other thing is a lot of people that do cruises, the they have to jump through on a cruise ship now. Hey, let's do a week-long train ride instead.
I cannot fathom anybody that wants to go on a cruise ship.
They're
That's just
what was it? They have to be any cruise ship they have to have 100% immunization, and they're still wearing masks, and they're still social distancing. And
it's a friggin' ship.
I know. Listen,
I don't know.
the
When
cruise
you
ship.
got 1,400 employees on it, and 50 of them are responsible for running the actual ship, and nobody speaks the same language.
No.
And I've seen them DIW in the middle of the ocean, on fire in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, listen, cruise ships are traditionally the incubators for new
oh
diseases.
God, you're not kidding.
Legionnaires
Yeah.
came out of a cruise ship. I mean, it's just
Dallas
but
to Salt Lake City, 56 and a half hours, $530.
Yeah, plane tickets $200 in 2 hours.
I think I'm gonna pass on that one.
so that's $5 an hour.
Pretty much.
That's not bad. $5 an hour.
Man, Aaron got a good shot at you, Jim. So train to be a semiconductor. We finally pinpointed where the downhill spiral started.
Oh, the downhill spiral started about 3 days after he came into this sorry world.
Yeah. Jesse says, F that.
Listen, traditionally men peak at 19,
And you?
and then after that, it's all downhill. But let me tell you, what a ride!
I've been on enough cruises that I do not.
Nope.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying people are looking at
At least the cruises I was on, people knew what the hell they were doing.
well, yeah, but
Now, granted, they were 5,200 of my closest friends.
people are looking at cruises and going, it's just not worth it. I could do a week-long train ride through scenic America
Yeah.
Well, the thing
and not
about
have to wear a mask. Not have to.
there's been so many stories in the news about cruise ship horror shows.
Now that would be interesting. Nancy's talking about going on one of the smaller boats that does the river cruises.
Well, that's different.
That could be interesting.
There's a great, they call them adventure cruises, I think, but there's a great one that runs up the East Coast, and you're in an old whaler, or it's got berths for 12, kind of deal.
Jerry is correcting us. Legionnaire's disease came out of the hotel in Philly at the American Legion Convention.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, the adventure cruises. There was a Viking cruise that went down the Rhine, and I was all sorts of happy until I realized that we didn't get to pillage.
No. Plus,
How can you call it a Viking cruise?
longboats, not the most comfortable.
Yeah, but if I can come back with,
There's an adventure cruise that goes up and down the Nile, and you do it in those traditional the dhows, the traditional dhows, which might be fun. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how many people shoot at you.
Yeah.
it's a blast, but
Yeah, but literally, not figuratively. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
trust me, the Dow up and down the Nile is a lot of fun as long as you are an adventure-minded person.
I mean, we could talk to the guys that rescued Khartoum.
Yeah.
Because they went up and down the Nile in dhows.
I say, if you're an adventure-minded person, it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
I wouldn't take Rita. I wouldn't
Rita,
take Jonna.
Rita strikes me as a person who looks at glamping as the minimum level.
Yes.
If she's gonna go out camping, there's gonna be a guy with a feather fan. That's all his entire job is just to fan her.
I discussed going on safari with her in Africa. And then somebody on my Facebook, if I can remember who they were, I posted a picture that some Swedish tourists had taken. And there, the picture is a lovely picture. You got this blonde guy, and it's dark, and you see the tent, all the stuff, the picture, and in the flash, you can see the lions in the dark going. It's like a self-serve.
Yeah.
And really, we're not going on safari.
Listen, at 2 a.m. At 2 a.m. when you're hungry, that drive-through looks really good.
Yeah. Self-serve.
And Nancy goes, the adventure cruises sound cool, but I want to have to fly to get there.
Good point.
Yeah. Well,
and flying will never be fun again, not in our lifetimes.
no. There, every now and again, a luxury airline tries to launch. A buddy of mine was one of the chief pilots for a startup back in the early aughties.
Yeah.
It was 777s. I think they had 80 seats total.
And couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, no, they ran regular routes transatlantic.
Yeah, but couldn't get paid.
That was the one from Dulles to Stanford, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't know what I know.
Or
It was transatlantic,
yeah.
But it ran like 3 months because they just couldn't.
It went pause up because it couldn't.
Well, it was $3,000 a ticket, if that's the one I'm thinking about.
Might be. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the airline.
And you still couldn't get enough bodies on it.
Yeah, and the thing is,
Oh, it was full.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So why'd they go pause up?
because at $3,000 a ticket, you couldn't make money.
Oh,
Yeah.
Remember, airlines run on a really slim margin.
It's 7 cents a seat now.
I don't know much about airlines, so
And even if,
Arcade wants to know, does Skin So Soft hold African bugs at bay?
depends on how thick you slather it on.
never got to try it.
Yeah.
I know that vanilla will keep the mosquitoes away and add a certain je ne sais quoi for the lions to come by. Oh, this one's self-seasoned.
Yes.
So there's licking before biting.
There always is with lions.
Yeah.
Remember that hunter we had that had the Worcestershire sauce already?
Plus, when you're out in the bush, you'd be surprised how far the smell of vanilla will carry
Yeah.
downwind.
And Richard goes, cruise ships. Titanic was a cruise ship.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
And as far as I'm concerned, one of the more successful ones.
You know what happened to its sister ship, the Britannic?
Wound up as a troop carrier in.
It sank.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Disregard.
It sank a few years later. I can't remember if it was actually torpedoed or not, but it sank too.
Yeah, it was torpedoed. And Cedar says, Skin So Soft was the worst thing ever. It drew the Alaskan mosquitoes to her, plus
Really?
triggered breathing issues.
No, that I can understand. I know at Fort Hood, it was the only thing that kept the mosquitoes at bay.
Well, when you slather it on a half-inch thick and they get stuck in it,
But yes, and
I'm just saying there may be a flaw in your theory. I'm not
Nancy,
sure where.
you could fly, you could drive to Vancouver or Victoria. Well, I don't know. Victoria may be a bit of a drive. I misread that as Vancouver.
remember,
But boutique airlines are a thing up in that part of the world.
I remember my first sergeant way back when had a sock full of sulfa powder, the yellow bug stuff, and he would bang that sock all over his legs about every 2 hours, or over his BDU pants about every 2 hours, just keep the ticks off.
Yeah, Cedar says DEET.
DEET is good.
Yeah,
We like DEET.
well, the fact that you can still get DEET in the Army.
Yeah.
We go to supply, say, hey, I'm going to the field. I need a couple bottles of DEET. And
Yeah.
You get it.
You can't buy it commercially.
A little squeeze.
Yeah.
You
Squeeze tubes, yeah.
lift up the nipple and squeeze.
Yeah.
We did.
When the MTO was on the ball, he'd send somebody to supply to pick up for the squad.
There
And it
were
was
three
flammable
boats.
as hell, by
Yes.
the way.
There was a Titanic, the Britannic, and the Olympic.
Olympic.
An Olympic, yeah.
RK says spousal unit's grandfather took the Carpathia to Liverpool in 1918
Oof.
as an AEF corporal, cavalry motorcycle messenger. Oof.
Wait. Didn't the Carpathia take the last photo of the Titanic?
Yep. She also rescued people.
That's right. That's what I remember.
I think they took the famous photo with the ass up in the air.
It could be. What? No, because nobody was there. There was a couple hours between the time and the first ship showed up.
The Carpathia was the one that did the rescue.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. It already gone down when they showed up.
Yeah.
Weren't they the ones that
Hmm.
put the coal to it and got there faster than they should have?
Yeah.
Running the engines at pressures that they were hanging their hats over the
Yeah.
pressure gauges.
And I don't care what you tell, what
In the
anybody
dark.
says. There was enough room on that raft for both Rose and Leonardo DiCaprio.
No kidding.
She froze them to death on purpose.
Carpathia was sunk in 1918. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cedar says looking in a bottle of Repel, which apparently has 40% DEET in it.
Really?
I did not know that.
Really, they're allowing DEET.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is the lady who everybody says is responsible for getting DEET banned.
Yeah.
Said
Silent
later.
Spring?
It said later on said she didn't want it banned. She just wanted people to be aware.
Well, that was DDT that she got banned.
Oh, it's
Silent Spring.
DDT. That's right. Yeah.
DDT, yeah.
No. And
Yeah.
there's a big thing now about how, getting DDT banned didn't really make all that much difference because the mosquitoes were already developing a tolerance for it. Bullshit.
Yeah.
DDT is the reason we don't have an American version of malaria.
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anymore. It used to be
Anymore.
yellow
Yes.
fever, and it used to be in the southeast, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. In America, the malaria and yellow fever was endemic. It was just as bad as subtropical Africa or Central America. We got DDT. We don't have that issue anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel Carson is the woman's
Yep.
name.
Silent Spring.
Yes.
Silent Spring, and yeah, people are a little ticked at her in the comment section to the effect of she should be up for war crimes, among other things.
I know that Central Africa would like her crucified.
How many millions of people died because of her admitted lies? Yeah,
Lies and exaggerations.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. The other thing, and Richard made a good point, you can treat your clothing with Promethean ahead of time.
Did. It's not as good as
Yeah.
DEET or DDT, but it's better than nothing. But I remember mixing the liquid DEET with peanut butter for
Yeah.
fire starter.
No, we used a peanut butter and jet fuel.
We didn't have access to jet fuel.
Yeah, we had thousands of pounds of it anywhere we went.
Yeah. The only time it's too much is when you're on fire.
Exactly.
Yeah, Cedar makes a good point. For research purposes, Graves in town in Sanford, New Hampshire, to show the teen how to track the annual yellow fever outbreaks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
RK says we just lit the peanut butter.
You had to add the DEET to make sure it stay lit.
Yeah.
Because generally, when you had to start a fire, it wasn't under optimal conditions.
No, it's
Yeah.
generally raining and cold.
And
Plus, the DEET added a certain something to what we were cooking.
No, that was the
C.
C4, and we only used the DEET peanut butter mixture after CSM caught us using C4 to start fires.
What is she worried about? C4 doesn't blow up.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
we
He,
used JP1 for an
he
ashtray.
lost his mind. The hell is that? Nothing, Sergeant Major. Are you burning C4? What's the correct answer, Sergeant Major?
Oh, RK says a couple of small sticks would keep the peanut oil burning. Yeah. Now you could always, was most of the military stuff, you could pour the peanut oil off the top,
Oh, jeez.
Mhm.
and then you had a chunk in there.
I
A
remember.
dry crumbly patty of peanut mush.
I remember mixing the issue.
Oh, damn. BJ just chimed in. Wish to cruise to Columbia, but what the hell? 8 days, 7 nights, one way, 8 ports, $5,630.
Which I could spend on something else.
Mhm.
Damn.
I remember the issue creamer, the MRE creamer,
Yeah.
which didn't.
That's flammable. The creamer was flammable.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, mixed it with dust and
Oh, yeah.
stuck it into. Remember the acid brushes that had the hollow metal?
Oh, yeah, we had
I stuffed a 50-50 creamer and fine ground dust in there. And then first sergeant was walking by and said, "What are you doing?" And I lit it and it took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're one of those."
Mhm.
I went,
those acid brushes. We always had them.
"Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Because we were forever smearing Pro Seal on something.
Yeah. Pro Seal and liquid Freon for cleaning. And just don't get the brushes mixed up.
No, well, you threw
Toluene.
there were
Yeah.
one-use things. We threw them away all the time. It was
I
just
packed the handles full.
Well, you were Army. You had plenty of them. We were in the Navy. We were scrounging.
well, we didn't have plenty of them. We just knew who had them and when he was not looking.
Diego Garcia, there were not a lot of those things laying around loose.
No.
I remember launching one out of sheer boredom, and it went through the cab of a 5-ton under a sergeant first class nose who was dozing in the driver's seat.
Nice.
The hell is that? Nothing, sergeant first class.
I have no idea. There goes a mosquito.
Aaron says silly putty implies the existence of serious putty. In other words, C4.
C4,
Yeah.
Of course, serious buddy.
very serious, buddy.
And RK says the buddy is a cruise boat lecturer while traveling the world at the line's expense. Yeah, you can do.
He's a crew. What is he lecturing on?
I don't know. Whatever they want him to.
Probably local color.
Yeah.
There's a tour guide.
See, I've read too many horror stories about who actually cruise cruise ships,
Yeah.
and
I've seen the results.
yeah, I'm just
So the command staff on a cruise ship tends to be Norwegian or Swedish or whatever,
representing the actual company,
right? The engine crew tend to be Filipino
which
Or Malaysia.
or Malaysian,
really makes me
and
nervous.
they don't speak English.
No.
Really makes
And
me nervous.
the hotel staff, for a better use one of the term, tend to be Mexican or third world South American.
And there are 1,400 of them, and there are 50 of everybody else to run the ship.
Yes, and nobody speaks the same language.
Nope.
And apparently, there's fairly often actual physical combat, up to and including bladed,
Yeah.
in crew quarters.
Yep.
I'm just no. I'm just I know.
Yeah. RK says just apply. He's currently lecturing on ghosts.
The other
Ghosts, plural.
The other thing about
Making them or watching them.
Lecturing on the cruise ship on ghosts.
so the cruise ship has ghosts,
Yeah,
or
that was going to be my question.
why does the cruise ship have? How old is this cruise ship? Is it sail powered?
If it's like the Laffey down in Charleston, anything is possible.
Well, Charleston is the most haunted city in the universe. I think it is. There's what's the name of that restaurant? It's in a house. It's a boutique restaurant. It's in a house. The house is a couple hundred years old, and you can look from the sidewalk. You look up some stairs into the front door, and then the front door, like any of the old houses, the rest of the house is this way, and there's stairs going straight up to the second floor. And if you catch it right, and you look in, there is a ghost standing at the top of the stairs.
No, I'm good.
You have no idea how often I walk past. We were stuck there for a couple of days
Yeah.
once on a trip, and I have no idea how many times I walk past her going,
Oh, you could have gone and spent the night on the Laffey.
yeah, they have haunted tours, which is great. You get on a horse-drawn carriage, and it never leaves Central
Charleston?
Charleston.
Yeah.
No, but it's so many different haunted
Well, they
places.
do another one down in Savannah.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a book about the graveyard in Savannah. And I just
Involve
drew a
prey-
blank on it.
Involve prey dogs?
No, does Savannah have the pirate ghost?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done that tour too.
Jean Lafitte?
No, I
No.
can't remember the pirate's name, but he apparently is haunting the graveyard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because he was buried there; it was because the graveyard used to be a marsh, and his ship got stuck and fired there or something.
All right, good.
The Laffey, they have documentation. Boy Scouts were staying on board. And one of the Boy Scouts got up to go to the head bathroom for you people that are not Navy and got lost in the middle of the night. And a guy in dungarees and a white t-shirt and Dixie cup came up to him. He was apparently crying and said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Well, I don't know how to get back." And they took him back to the compartment where he was sleeping. Except he died in 1943.
And that's when I would have packed my shit and got the hell off that boat.
There was a
But the kid looked at the pictures of the ones that had been lost and pointed to the guy and he said it was him.
All right, guys, pack your shit. We're gone.
the great thing about the Haunted Savannah tour is it starts. There's a bar.
No, that's
at the
what.
start. So you turn it around.
They want to watch you for a while.
So it starts. There's a bar, and that's where it starts at. So you go to the bar, you have a few drinks, and then you go on a haunted tour.
No wonder they're seeing ghosts. I would be seeing ghosts too.
It's great. I love those haunted tour things.
Oh, Richard says Gordon Ramsay is a ghost haunting a restaurant. Oh, hell no.
Yeah, it was probably one of his sous chefs.
Yeah.
Who's still in purgatory? What am I? An idiot sandwich.
The great woman who comes out to warn sailors in bad weather. Yeah.
There's I read a story once of one of the World War II carriers.
Cedar says face fuzz looks better.
One of the World War II carriers, the sailors assigned to the ship would complain about a knocking they were hearing.
Yeah.
And when they decommissioned it and they were scrapping it, tearing it apart, they found the body of one of the welders
Was
in between the bulkheads.
Apparently that happens several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not the ghost part, but apparently welders that would do or shipyard workers were so overworked they were catching naps and getting sealed up in between.
Well, they said he got sealed up or fell in there, but so the entire service life of this carrier, so said, "Hey, there's this knocking going on." Apparently, it was the guy's ghost.
Yeah.
Let me out.
Pack your shit. We're leaving.
Yeah. Richard says, "I'm retired Army. We're all sick and twisted." This is true.
Because if I were in a ghost story movie, you walk into the house, you go, "This is a nice house. Get out! Oh, too bad we can't stay."
Yeah.
And that was the end of the movie.
Exactly.
RK says they have two ghosts in their house. One is a cat. The other is a lieutenant colonel, previous owner, who likes to move stuff around. We like them both.
Pack your shit. Get out. See, I think poltergeist. I think poltergeist.
No, the problem, Cedar, is there were so many people working the shipyards in World War II. They did not keep a good count of personnel
Right.
who were on what shift because people would work over, people would be sick, and
they literally had thousands
Yeah.
per shift.
And they would have people who would bugger off for no reason.
yeah, there were 200 or 300 at least that were documented being sealed up inside ships, if I remember the number correctly.
Anyway, I am certain that every poltergeist report of a poltergeist is a dead cat.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a poltergeist is knocking stuff off.
Okay.
Well, no, really?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe in ghosts, but I've woken up a couple times in the middle of the night and my bedroom door has been wide open. And I don't leave it open. He can't open the door. It's not you and it's not Obi.
Yeah.
It's just because I know every time I go to bed, I close the door. So Obi can't wander around and get into trouble. And I've woken up a couple of times, that door has been wide open.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not saying I believe in ghosts, and I'm saying this house is haunted.
I don't believe in ghosts. I also don't stay anywhere that creepy shit happens. Because when creepy stuff happens, I get twitchy. And when I'm twitchy, it's not a good thing.
Plus,
RK says, proof that the earth is not flat. If it was, a cat would have knocked everything off by now.
Yeah, it would have been, the cat be on the edge of the planet going.
Every reported poltergeist, a cat died in that house.
Yeah.
We have a ghost that's knocking stuff off of shelves.
Yeah.
Well, there's an obvious answer to that, isn't there?
Yeah, Aaron says poltergeists are cats. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah. And Jason says house shifting can cause doors to open like that. He's had it happen in his house too.
Okay.
And
We
on
would
that
know if
note,
it's an
folks,
earthquake.
we wasted another hour of your time.
We spent the entire hour talking about trains, planes, and automobiles.
All right then.
Thank you very much, folks. Enjoyed it. The
And
chat
folks-
was great. And have a good weekend, folks. Be safe.
I need to read the chat more often.
Well, you could do that if you wanted to bring it up in your phone.
No, because then I'll get stuck in the phone and I won't be able to.
Anyway, be safe. Have a good weekend. If you're in the path of the hurricane coming up the coast, just take care. Remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. We'll see you later.
Be safe, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, the thing's supposed to make landfall on the panhandle of Florida.